Hey guys, Kana here. Just wanted to hop on and let you guys know real quick that this podcast and a few others in the future are going to be recorded on Zoom due to COVID and concerns over the virus. My full time job leads me to be around a lot of people who are from all over coming together in small areas. So, just out of concern for all the parties involved, I will most likely be doing the majority of these through Zoom for the time being. So if you guys notice a slight drop in audio quality, that's why. I apologize. Hopefully we can get back to normal ones in person soon, but until then, we will be recording them through Zoom. Still will have them up on YouTube, and nothing's going to change in regards to the schedule. Also, we here at the Small Town Producer Podcast believe that Black Lives do matter. If you guys want to support any of the Black Lives Matter foundations, they still need our support. So if you follow me on any of my social medias, just head on over to my link tree that I have in my bio, and it's the first link to donate. So thank you guys so much, and enjoy the podcast. All right. Welcome, everybody. I think this is episode 5 of the Small Town Producer Podcast. Yeah, I think it's 5. I'm Kana Beats. You can follow me at Beats by Kana on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, whatever. I'm joined as always by Luke Blood. Luke, where can people find you?
Luke Blood most places, but on Instagram it's at Luke Blooded.
Yep. And then, as always, I'll be putting up a video portion of this on Kana Beats YouTube channel. We are joined today by Tyler Genius. Tyler, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, of course. Glad to be here.
Great to have you.
Yeah.
I love saying that. I think it's so professional. Yeah, glad to be here, guys.
No, yeah, you sound like a pro.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
definitely. You got like the low NPR thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's my NPR voice. So.
Awesome. So me and Tyler actually know each other from, we both competed on the Axe the Label contest. And
so funny, dude. Love it.
Yep. Both
Explain it. So Tyler, explain what, okay. There's your face.
So Axe the Label, the most random competition I have ever been a part of in my entire life. Also, the only competition that I've partially won. So that's exciting. Yeah, so essentially it was a competition held by Axe the Label, which no one knows about, and Zaytoven Beats, and was it just Zaytoven?
I think in Lil Yachty too.
Yeah, and Lil Yachty also. I'm talking down about it. It was cool. It's just funny to me. And so essentially it was it was a competition for artists and producers to both join. Obviously producers had to make a beat, but they had to make a beat with some samples that Zaytoven made. And then artists had to rap over a certain beat or a choice of beats. And then they pick the winners, and they get Axe cans. And I don't know what the winners actually got, but we got Axe cans.
Yeah.
So that's all that matters.
I think they got $1,500, the winner.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I know. Cool.
Yeah, but hey, we're immortalized on a can of Axe. It's all good.
I will never lose this gem.
Yep. Well, as cool as the Axe the Label contest is, if you have, what are some of your other accomplishments that you have that you are very proud of?
Yeah. So aside from that glorious moment,
yeah.
I don't know, man. My credits range right now, but my first, I think, biggest accomplishment, to myself, was actually not necessarily a credit, but I had opened up my first studio, and I did it as a joke when I was 19, because I had no clue what I was doing. I was just yeah, let's do this and see what happens. And so I had opened it and had my first client in. It was the worst possible scenario that could have ever happened. The mix was terrible. The professionalism was non-existent. And he burned his hand on one of my lights, and it was just it was a whole thing.
Hey.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Needless to say, it was a free session.
But you had a physical studio somewhere, a setup, or was this like a bedroom studio kind of thing?
It was an upgrade from a bedroom.
Okay.
It was a basement.
Gotcha.
Oh, right on.
But it worked, you know. It was completely tiled. There was no acoustic treatment whatsoever. I had, you know, tiny 5-inch monitors. It really was a joke, but like obviously my heart was in it and everything. And so we did that for a while, and we, as in like me and my friends. And you know, obviously like you keep doing it and you start building, and enough consistency turns into actually like something tangible. And so I got to a point where I was upgrading my equipment and noticing an influx of clients, and like I was like, I really got to start getting serious about this. So I locked myself in my room and went to YouTube University and like just dug through mixing YouTube channels and, you know, tried to do my best at it. So all of that being my first like biggest accomplishment, to me at least, finally turned into something really, really incredible, which was my Lil Skies Red Roses engineering placement, if that's what you want to call it. So I had the opportunity to mix and master Red Roses, which was a huge launch for my career. However, it did not come without some casualties between me and the label and things like that. So as fun as it was and as incredible as it was, the way that it ended was not ideal. But as mad as I was when it happened, there definitely was a lesson learned there, because it was my first time ever getting something like that. And so, you know, from there on, contracts were a thing. And yeah, so that was my first biggest accomplishment. Since then, I've got to work with Baby Jake, who's a new artist out of LA. He's under SB Projects. I've got to work with his artist Sham, who's under SB Projects, Scooter Brown Projects. Who else? Landon Cube, that was huge. So yeah, man, the list isn't extensive, and so it's definitely something I'm still working on. But definitely proud of, you know, what I've accomplished so far.
No, that's awesome. And to us, I mean, that's the goal right there, you know.
Yeah.
We're trying to get there too. So no, that's awesome. So you talked about how you started the whole like basement studio thing when you were like 19. So how long had you been producing though before you got that idea?
18, I think. So
okay.
and the whole thing, the whole story is crazy, man. It really was all based off of and be as vulnerable as I can, actually. It was all based off of my insecurity amongst my friends. Everyone around me was like incredibly talented at one specific thing, and I just was kind of the person that was good at a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't great at one thing, and I really wanted to change that and start focusing on something. But there was nothing that I felt a passion for to keep going. And then I don't know how it happened. All of a sudden, I found out about Logic Pro, and I was like, all right, well, you know, let me invest $200 and see what happens. So I paid $200. I got a legal version of it, off rip. And then again, it literally, and I even lost some friends because of this, but I just locked myself in my room for like an entire summer and learned as much as I possibly could. Made a ton of shitty beats, and I think from there, that's when everything started catapulting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at what point, I mean, did you kind of fall in love with it right away and know like this is it? Or were you, I mean, because I know for me, like there was kind of a period of picking it up and putting it down a little bit. It sounds like you kind of ran with it, right?
Yeah, and I get why people do that. Like, you know, you're kind of on and off. I don't know, man. There was so much of me that was frustrated with not having something I could call mine, that I think when I did find it, it was like full speed ahead. There really was never a time. Obviously, you have those nights where you're like, I'm so like, you've made great beats, but you still like, I'm garbage at producing, and like you're like, I'll probably quit tomorrow. You know, like there was nights like that for sure. But I really can't recall a night or any time where I was like, I'm going to take a break and not do this. It was like, I don't know, man. I just became obsessed with it.
Yeah. And then,
Okay.
and then leading to opening your studio, right? So was there any kind of a click there? Like, this is the next step I need to take? You mentioned it was kind of a joke, but were you was it like not actually a joke in your head, or what was that like?
Everything was a joke when I was 19.
Okay. Right.
Even if it wasn't a joke,
right.
It was still a joke. So in my head, I'm like, oh, I'll just do it for shits and giggles, like whatever. But yeah, like it came from somewhere, you know, and I 100% believe it was like, it's all in the same lane. So why not do it? The thing that I did not realize is that producing and mixing are two different planets. And so I opened up my studio. I was like, oh, this will be a piece of cake. And then quickly realized that I had to learn a brand new thing. So, but again, they really do go hand in hand. It's just that initial, like, stepping into the door and realizing that it's like, here's to create a beat or music, and here's to make a piece of art sound good. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
okay. So you said that you started to have people coming in and like going through the studio and whatnot. What was kind of your strategy for that then? Was it just all word of mouth, or were you like posting on social media trying to get people, or like contacting them directly, or?
Yeah, so it started out as word of mouth.
Okay.
Like I said, the first initial like set of people that I mixed, it was rough. It was, and this is something like, I feel like so many people, like, they quit so early on. And it's sad to see. And it's because they lose complete confidence in themselves, or they no longer believe in themselves, or whatever. But it's like, again, consistency, like, you will get there eventually. And so, yeah, the first half was a lot of word of mouth. And then I took it upon myself to be like, okay, well, how do I get more people in here? And so on and so forth. And obviously social media was a big thing even then. And so I really, like, I took to Twitter and Instagram, and I posted every time I had a session. I made sure that the clients that I worked with posted about it. And that was kind of payment, right? So, like, it wasn't financial payment at first. It was like a trade and barter. Like, let me mix this free of charge. If you can just please let your friends know about me and post this on social media, that would be a huge help. And it really worked, because at the end of the day, word of mouth is the best way to do things. And so if you start trading that instead of focusing on just financial gain, you're bound to see a lot more traffic coming to you. Now, obviously, you need to transfer that traffic to an economic gain or gain, financial gain. But that's all in due time. So
can you speak a little bit to that time, I guess, when you felt like you were ready to cross into charging clients, and how you decided pricing and all that?
Yeah. So I closed down for like a whole 2 weeks, because I was like, I don't know how the fuck I'm supposed to do this. I was like, do I charge $100? Do I charge $10? Like, what? Like, it's such a gray area on it. The day came that I realized I needed to start making money off it, when my friends came to me and told me I started needing to make money off of it, because at that point I was like doing way too much work for absolutely no money. And so, like, and that's another thing, is like, it's really important to have a good peer group around you, a good circle around you, that can help kind of facilitate what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? It's always good to have like a board of advisors. And in this instance, it was my two of my best friends. And so, we sat down, and they were just talking to me about, like, kind of trying to open my eyes to the possibility of, like, okay, well, what if we start charging now? It seems like you've got enough traffic. Let's make it happen. And so I did. And I think I started at like 20 an hour. Like, it was, it's a good amount, but it's not consistent work. You're not doing a 9 to 5. So it really wasn't anything to live off of. But I kept doing it. And then, like, what I would do, I would just slowly increase my price, but I would only do it when I had something to show for it. So if I got a new piece of hardware, or if I upgraded the studio, or I don't know. There was one occasion where like, I closed it down, and then I made a full promo video. I redid the studio. It wasn't any new hardware. I just adjusted some things, and then I created a promo video that alluded, or kind of gave the illusion, that like what you can walk into is something that will give you a top tier mix. And then at that point I increase my price. And so like there's different tactics, but I definitely tried to keep it as real as I can. And yeah, so we're now sitting at a pretty $65 an hour, you know, which is something I can live off of. And it's been, I don't know, dude, it's been incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I saw on your Instagram, I think I saw the day that you decided you were going to start doing it.
Yeah, man.
Full time.
I forgot it was on there. Yeah, I have it on my little memories thing. Because like as soon as I made that video, I was like, I can't. This has to be on. Like people, if they click on my profile, should watch this. You know, because it's good for me to remember. Because I'll watch it from time to time. And it's just, I think it's really inspiring. I've had a lot of people message me about that video, and it's the coolest thing to be able to like have someone message you and be like, hey man, your words did this for me, or what you've done has inspired me to do this, this, and this. And it's just fuel. Like it really is fuel just to keep going.
Yeah. I mean, every time I see, you know, a producer that I follow be like, oh, I'm going full time now, and then it pays off and stuff. Yeah, that's always awesome to see. I love that. But okay, so getting back to the starting to charge people, I guess one of the questions that I feel like a lot of producers in our area and maybe in some other areas might have is the question of like, how do you start to have that conversation about charging people to your friends? Because you start to reach a point where you don't really know where to draw the line. And so I guess just
charge your friends, charge your fucking friends.
Okay.
Like it, you know, it's your company. To let me be more fair. If you are not doing it full time,
yeah,
you have room to give discount, at least in my mind, right? Like if you're working a 9 to 5 and you're doing this on the side, I say that it's definitely a great idea to help your friends out and not make it all about the money, you know. However, when you do make that leap from quitting your 9 to 5 and doing engineering or producing full time, there should be no difference. Obviously you have your special occasions and you have your people that you ride with, and like those conversations will remain private between you and that person, you know, pricing wise. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, there's no point in changing your price. It's your company.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I just like, you know, stick to the man.
Yeah, no, that
makes
answers
sense.
my question. Yeah.
I think, I mean, what I'm hearing you say really is like, treat it like a business. People need to know like what your rates are. If you want to have like a private discussion or it's like a special case, sure, that's a case by case thing. But I mean, a lot of what I'm hearing is kind of like a mindset of like, this is a business. Like I have services to offer that are of value. So give yourself the value that you deserve, I guess, in a sense.
100%. Because you're gonna find it hard. What's gonna happen is you'll get into a situation where you're way too lenient, and you start giving discounts to a bunch of people, and then you lose track of who you give discounts to, and then people start talking, and now you've got Joe talking to Alfred about his pricing, and now Alfred's pissed at you because you're charging him this amount of money, but you know, Billy Bob over here, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like everyone's getting charged different prices. So what is your price?
Yeah.
And then there's this tension. It's like, okay, well, how do you back out of that? You really put yourself in a corner doing that, you know? So again, case by case. And if for me, I have to take it seriously. And I think everyone should, if they're doing this. If it is a case by case thing, more times than not, I will absolutely preface the conversation with, this is a conversation between you and I, not you and our friends, not anyone else. Here's your price, and here's why I'm giving you this price. But it needs to remain between us, you know? So, and this comes down to, this just popped in my head, but like prime example, and I'm guilty, like I've done this before too, and I just didn't think about it. But let's say, for example, you're in a session with a friend and you've given him a discount, and he brings another friend in that you also mix for. I suppose this is a specific scenario, but I feel like it happens more times than not. Don't accept payment if that friend is in that room, because I'm sure they're watching. You know, if someone hands cash over and you're counting it, like everyone looks at cash, you know, or if you're sending money through Apple Pay, just be discreet about it, things like that. because the confidentiality is really an important thing so that your business can remain wholesome.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have you talked about like having contracts and stuff and all that. Do you just keep like a split sheet like just right in there now? So
So for the contracts, when it comes to engineering, I will send a contract out before we even work.
okay.
I don't really get percentages as the engineer. I will get paid up front, and then I'll get paid at the end, or however we deal out our contract, and that is pretty much it. As soon as the project is finished or the song is finished, the song is yours. I've gotten paid. I get my credit for it, but I'm not getting paid for anything else. So split sheets aren't relevant in that situation. However, the contract does get signed before we work.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's just it's like an agreement. It's like me, the engineer, will be mixing you and your song, blah 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 blah, for this amount of money, and then we both agree.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Do you do a lot of mixing work where it's just vocals sent to you versus actually tracking them out in the studio?
I definitely have an equal amount of both.
Okay.
So, and again, dude, social media is a powerhouse. A lot of my good business has come from online mixing, just promoting myself on Twitter, having friends advocate for me, things like that. And in turn have had, people that I mean, like, so there's an artist I've worked with for, I want to say almost over a year now, from Colorado. And I've met him once, and it was like 2 weeks ago. But like, we've done online business for quite a while, and yeah, so all it is it's usually a 2-track, sometimes beat stems, and then his whole vocal session that I'm working with. But I do have a studio here, a commercial space, not a basement anymore, where I work with artists, and we do full recording and tracking and things like that.
Okay. And then mostly local artists just from your area, or people? Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe this is like a good transition, I guess, a little bit to like, what's your city like, I guess? And because I know you're close to Washington, D.C., right? But you're not in Washington, D.C., right? You're at least a few minutes out.
No, well, a few minutes is an understatement. Our town is, so do you guys know about Waldorf?
Not really, no.
No. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. No one does. The running joke, and we really do get bullied for it. If you're not from Waldorf, if you're from anywhere else in the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia area,
Mm-hmm.
the running joke is that if you want to go to Waldorf, you have to take a flight. But we're like 30 minutes out. It's just so far in the cut that people joke about it.
Gotcha.
I'm not from Waldorf. I'm from the town underneath Waldorf. So we're not even important enough to be joked about. And so that's where I live. It's a small town. And that carries a lot of challenges. It carries a lot of challenges. Luckily, the Red Roses thing came right from my high school, which is just a chance thing that happened. But most of my big work that I have been pursuing has been me stepping outside of my comfort zone and going to the places I need to go in order to make it happen. Because unlike LA, where you can wake up and go to a coffee shop and meet Tyler the Creator or whatever, like, you don't really get that here,
Mm-hmm.
So you have to kind of adapt and make your own choices and make something happen.
Okay. So how are you deciding? Are you going to like events in bigger cities or just kind of networking opportunities?
So majority is just me flying out and with no plan and just being inside of the area, which is, I have a couple awesome stories for that we can kind of cross and I'll share with everyone. But there are some events that I've been to that have led to some really cool things. So do you guys know who Nick Caution is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Super dope guy. Had no clue who he was. I went to, it's kind of funny. It's actually really funny. So I went to New York and I did this thing. So I have ADHD, so my mind's like in 1,000 different places.
Yeah, you're good.
But so I had the opportunity to go to an event in New York, and Illmind was sponsoring it, and it was at a studio. What was it called?
Was it the Pass the Ox?
No.
Okay.
It was something else. It was right before he did Pass the Ox.
Okay.
But essentially, you paid your money, you got to go, you met Illmind, you met a bunch of other cool producers, and you learned a lot. We got to share music and things like that. Yeah, it was really cool. So I actually took that opportunity and made it an opportunity for other people, which in turn helped me grow on social media. So I bought my ticket and I could bring a friend. So instead of me like privately texting people, being like, "Hey, you want to come?" I took it to Twitter and I made it public, and I said, "Hey, I have an opportunity to go up to New York to meet with Illmind, the engineer for A Boogie, and Meek Mill's engineer. Who wants to come?" And then so I made the action of, you need to retweet this, favorite this, and DM me why you should come, and I'll pick somebody. Literally 100 plus retweets, just a crazy amount of DMs. Like it went insane, and it really worked because it helped me grow my followers, get me more exposure. But I legitimately got to pick someone and say, "Hey, you're coming with me. Let's go and meet some really cool people." So we went up there and we went to the studio, shook hands with Illmind, talked to him. That was incredible, obviously. And if you pay the right amount of money, you can shake anyone's hand. But it was definitely worth it. And so we were sitting in this room. It was this tiny engineering room. And there had to have been like 30 of us just like sardined in. And standing next to me was Nick Caution and his engineer. And we were standing there for like a solid 30 minutes. Like I was just, like looking around. I saw him like multiple times. So I was like, "Hey, dude," and like just kept looking around. And then his engineer finally got a chance to speak. And he's like, "Hey, my name's blah, blah, blah. This is my artist, Nick Caution." And I was like, "Huh?" And he's like, we're from Pro Era, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, "Bro, are you like, I've been standing here for 30 minutes and just didn't acknowledge at all." And so obviously I was like, "All right, well, we got to make a move." So I dapped him up. I was like, "Hey man, do you have an email or something like that? I want to send you some beats if you don't mind." He was like, "Yeah, take my number." I was like, "Fire." So I got his number. And then on the way home, we took a bus up there. On the way home, the bus Wi-Fi is a joke, but it's all I had to work with. So I was sitting there in the bus seat and like had my laptop out and was all crammed up and everything. I was dragging and dropping MP3s into my email, and literally the MP3s, I sent like 4. It took me like 2 hours to send this, and like it kept cutting out, so I had to restart. It was a shit show. But I finally got him out to him, and I'm seriously a year later from this event, I get a message from his engineer saying, "Hey, Nick has one of your beats. It's going to be on his next project. There was this other artist that's going to feature on it. Let's start setting up, details and shit." And I literally stopped my session, walked outside, and was just like celebrating, like, and hollering. I was like,
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like situations like that where it's like you don't fucking ever think something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Until it happens a year later. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just from meeting him, really.
Yes. Yeah. But not even knowing who he was for 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right.
But and so that song isn't out yet. The album is finalized, but they've pushed it back to, I think, November. So it'll be dropping soon.
Awesome.
But it's just insane, dude.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So,
that's interesting because we just dropped the episode. I think you listened to it, the one with Wantel, and it's interesting the parallels that I'm seeing here. I mean, you're talking about how you're going to these different cities and maybe not having like the most concrete of a plan or whatever, but you're just gonna meet someone and make something happen. And he talked about the same thing, about how he just would take off and go somewhere and be like, "I don't know what's happening, but like something's gonna happen because I'm gonna make it happen."
Yeah, it actually gives me chills because it like whenever a new producer asks, like, hey, like, how did you become famous? Like, it's such a vague question, but, you know, the normal response is you just got to do it. And people get mad at that answer. Like, they, you know, they're like, well, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I am doing it. Like, no, you're not. You know, like, you literally just have to do it. Like, if your thought process is, oh, I should be out in LA. I should be out there, man. Like, or oh, this event's happening. Like, I should be there. Go. You know what I mean? And like, don't sit there and complain when you don't go, because you don't know, dude. I fucking went to New York. First off, fuck Cyndi Lauper. Fuck you, Cyndi Lauper. We were in New York, me and my buddy. we were just walking around, dude, and we were in the studio with my buddy. It was a crazy studio. It was like right in Times Square. And we walk out, and we're like walking around New York, and we pass by the door to the studio, and this old wrinkly lady walks out, and she's walking with these big ass security guards. And I'm like, that's obviously someone important. Who is that? And so my friend was like, watch this. So he walks up to her, and he was like, I like your shoes. She was like, what? And my friend was like, I like your shoes. And she's like, thanks. And then he was like, what's your name? And she was like, Cindy. And he was like, oh, nice to meet you, Cindy. And she was so confused about the whole thing. She was like, Cyndi Lauper. And me and him didn't, like, our faces did not change. We're like, hi, Cyndi Lauper. didn't connect. Like, girls just want to have fun. Like, icon. Yeah. So she was like, Cyndi Lauper. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I can't remember the whole thing. I just know we asked a question. She got real bitchy. And I was like, all right, fuck you. And then we walked away. And I was like, I'm never working with her again. It was, you know, but like, obviously that, you know, no opportunity came of it. Something probably could have if I knew who she was, but whatever. She had her time. But nonetheless, is like, everything just happens when you don't have a plan.
Yeah.
And so that brings us to LA. And LA is like that's my war zone. If Call of Duty could sponsor me. It really is like, when I go to LA, and I go there as much as I possibly can. I go there with zero plan, but with every intention to meet somebody. And out of the 10 times that I've gone, I think it was once that something didn't come of it. Two of the biggest moments were the first time I went, I got to meet some really important people that kind of helped build a foundation for my trips there. One of them was this kid named Savan. He's a French producer. He's a multi-platinum producer, has worked with Nissan and like all these crazy names. You know, you go out to LA and they all have crazy credits. But I got to meet him, and we went to one of his studios, and it's just incredible, man. So like, I got to really connect with someone there who was legitimately doing it. And that was when my eyes were open. That's like, this is super doable. Like, I can come out here and actually do something every time. And I got to preface, that first trip happened because I decided to go, and I didn't have a plan. But then I asked one of my friends from the studio if he wanted to go with me. And this was last minute. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll go. And like, didn't think he was going to say yes. I don't even know the dude that well. But he's like, yeah, sure. And the owner of the studio at the time was there, and we had asked him, I was like, hey, do you happen to know anyone in LA? Like, just off a whim. He's like, yeah, I know a couple people. So he got us connected to this guy, super nice dude. He was from Maryland, you know. So it was like, obviously there's some connection there. So because of that, because we asked that question, we had something set up when we got there, but that was pretty much it. We didn't really know what was going to happen. And nothing monumental happened besides the fact that, like, we shook hands with someone in LA that is somewhat connected to the music industry. And because of that, we went to a listening party, which was awesome. And I met Savan. And that really, like I said, is what started it all. The craziest thing about that is the dude that went with me now lives there. Because of this trip, now lives there, works with Savan and his team, and is doing exactly what he wanted to do before he went. And I think it's the coolest fucking thing, because the dude did exactly what we're talking about right now, which is he just went.
Yeah.
Had he not gone, he would still be here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or he would be doing something else. But it's like, So that was the first trip, super foundational. Another trip we went, I went out there to talk with this management team. And these are things I'm setting up before I'm going. But it's like I'm there for a week and I have one thing planned.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I do this. I go out for a week and I make sure it's just 1 week. I usually do middle of the week up until the weekend because things happen in LA on the weekend. So I had one thing set up. I went out there. Wasn't even guaranteed. This meeting was not even guaranteed. But I went out there. Had no fucking clue what I was doing because I was trying to get this massive artist. Well, not massive, but signed, verified, and went viral on Twitter. To be a part of my festival that I was going to do, or that I am going to do, but haven't done. And I was like, dude, if I'm going to get an artist, like we gotta make it happen. So I was like, let me fly out there and have this meeting. And so I met with a bunch of suits who knew exactly what the fuck they were doing, and me, who have never ran a massive festival, and it was like still just trying to learn shit. And we went in there and it worked out, and we met at this coffee shop and we sat down and I said, I literally talked out of my ass the whole time, but I sold that shit so hard. And it was funny because after the meeting, my boy who was with me, I was like shaking and I turned and I was like, dude, was that like, what did I just say? Like, I don't remember anything. He's like, you did good, bro. You did good. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. But so before the meeting ended, the manager pulled me aside. He's like, yo, here's my number. I think there's a party going on tonight if you want to go. And I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, is that a thing you guys do here? You just invite random people? He's like, so whatever. So I get his number. And he's like, I'll text you tonight with more information. And so knowing LA people, I was like, I won't get a text. So like 6 o'clock ran around and I had nothing. And so I texted him like, hey man, like, any information? No response. 7 o'clock hits on the dot. I get a random link from him. I'm like, this is fucking sus, dude. So I click on the link and it's this timed web page. It's one page. It's janky as hell, but it's like address, presented by Jägermeister. And then it had a picture of the house and it was this massive Hollywood Hills house. And I was like, yo, what the fuck? And it was like black tie event and all this shit. And so I'm like scrummaging through my suitcase. I was like, I didn't bring any suits, dude. And so we got the information. And I was like, bro, we gotta go to the mall. Like, I gotta get a suit. And so we went to the mall. Okay, and keep in mind, all of this is spontaneous. Like, this is I'm not blabbering. There is a lesson here. We went to the mall, and again, this was just like off rip. I was like, I gotta get a suit. So we go to the cheapest place you can get a suit in the mall, which is still not cheap. And I go there and I buy this suit that is the nicest suit I will ever own. And broke my bank. And we were like minutes before the mall closed. Like, we were like squeezing in time and we were going to be late to the party and all this other shit. But I had to get a suit. So I got the suit and we walked out of the mall and we were walking down the sidewalk and I walked past this person and my friend behind me was like, yo, Tyler. And I turned around, I was like, yeah. And he was like, no, it's Tyler. And I turned more around and behind me is Tyler, the Creator. I'm like, nah, it's not a good story. And so I walk up to him and I'm like I was like fucking 12 years old. And I like walked up and I'm like, hey, Tyler. And he's like, hey, man, just cool as can be. Like, way too much confidence. It was like, hey, dude. And I, put my hand up to dap him. And this is when my fucking soul was just like, poof. I went up to dap him and he like looked at me for 3 seconds. And was like, oh my God, I shouldn't have done this. And I didn't know what I shouldn't have done. I just knew I shouldn't have done something. And so he looks at me. He's like, I don't do that. And I was like, oh yeah, no, that's cool. And so I gave him a fist bump. I was like, see you, man. And then we walked away. And got into the Uber, and I was like, bro, what the fuck? Like, why was that the worst experience I've ever had? But I would have never met him had I, not gone to the mall, And then we went to the party, and I met this dude from Workaholics, and, like, you just meet so many people, dude. It's like, but this all happened because I decided to just go without really having a plan.
Yeah.
And because of that, I had one of the craziest nights of my life.
Yeah.
It was a movie, bro. No, but it's like there really is something to be said for just getting up, even though you might be dead scared, and just going to a place that you're not comfortable with, even by yourself sometimes, and just doing it. This will be my last LA story. Unless you guys have questions.
Oh, we'll probably have questions, but go ahead. We can hit those after.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking a lot. I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good.
Shit just gets me so excited, dude. So this trip was easily one of the most important trips. I'll talk about two. The first one, I won't go into detail too much. I went for a week completely by myself, and really, really did not have a plan except to meet one person who I had met on Twitter, and that was John Sway. So I went out there, and for the first 4 days, I promise you this is not a joke. I literally walked LA from 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. just grabbing coffee, producing in coffee shops, like just walking around completely clueless. And the first 2 days it was fine. I was like, oh, whatever, like I've done this before. We'll just wait. Just be patient. Just be patient. And then the third day hit, and I woke up, and I really like sat there, and I like kind of broke, and I was like, what, like, why am I here, and why did I spend so much money to get here? Like, for real. And it was the weirdest experience. Like, I really was questioning everything I was doing throughout this whole trip. And so I got my head out of my ass finally, and I was like, whatever, like, I'm just, because I was deciding, like, do I want to go home now and just call it quits, because obviously this isn't working, or do I want to just write it out? I had like 2 more days. So I decided to write it out. And the last day, after like 4 days of not being able to, I finally met with John. And John introduced me to his friend. And it was hands down the greatest day. Like, not the greatest night. The party was the greatest night. The greatest day I've had in LA. We met. We all immediately clicked, and we went hiking up to the Hollywood Hills sign, and just like enjoyed each other's company, got to know each other, and like really got to connect on a deeper level than just music. And that was like insane. It really was, because he's from New York and I'm from Maryland, and we met for the first time all the way out in LA. And I got to meet his buddy, and it's like, it was just a really cool experience. But because of this, because I decided to stay, I didn't leave. Like, we met, we connected, and then we worked. We both went home, and I got the privilege to mix his song Contagious and, work on some beats for him and things like that. And like, that's huge. So the last one is, I went out there with some friends, and again, no plan. We bought studio time. I met Timothy, I met Based One, all these people, and spent way too much time there, like longer than we had paid for, and it was great. And 9 o'clock rolled around. This is like midweek. It was a great week so far. It was midweek, 9 o'clock rolled around, and we were like, dude, we're hungry. So we walk out, and we're walking to go get food, and we decided getting Chick-fil-A. So we're walking around, and somehow we missed the block that we're supposed to turn on, and we're like 20 minutes past where we're supposed to go. So we pop a Yui, find the block, go up there, and finally get our food. And Chick-fil-A in LA is outside only for the most part. So you order, and then you sit down outside. And so that's what we did. And we decided to sit right next to the drive-thru. And we're sitting there like talking about TikTok, and like, it's the move. And like, if you make music, that's where you need to, put your shit and everything. And I didn't think we were being loud, but apparently we were. So this like no-name Acura drives up, and I have a Honda Civic, so it's a better car than mine. But this no-name Acura drives up in the drive-thru, and this dude is like, yo, TikTok's the shit. And I turn around, I'm like, fuck yeah, it is, dude. I didn't know who he was, but I got up, and I was like, fuck it, like, let me just go talk to this dude. I'm like, yo, what's up, man? Like, my name's Tyler, blah, blah. He's like, yo, I'm Baby Jake. Look me up on IG. I'm like, oh, okay, dope. So I was like, cool, nice to meet you. Nice to meet everyone in the car. I go and sit down, and I'm like searching his name, and I like find it, and my jaw drops, and I'm like, fucking verified, 55,000 followers, one song on Spotify, 8 million streams. I'm like, who the fuck did I just run into? So I get back out of my seat and I turn around and I reintroduce myself, and I was like, hey, I would love to send you some beats if you don't mind, you know? And he's like, yeah, for sure. You know, what's your number or whatever? We exchange information, or no, IG. That's for my IG. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And then the next day I wake up and I get a message from him, and he's like, yo, I like this beat on your page. Send it to me. I was like, fuck yeah, I'll send it to you. Like, this is crazy. So he does all that. I end up going back home after this insane trip, and he hits me back with the reference, and it's a dope ass song. So it doesn't come out, which is fine. Doesn't come out, but the fact that we made a connection was the biggest win for me. Yeah. And the whole thing is this, man, is like, had we not missed our turn, had we not overstayed our welcome at Tree Sound or Split Mind now, and had we not decided to go sit down and talk about TikTok at that table right next to the drive-thru, I would have never met this dude ever. You know what I'm saying? And I don't believe in coincidence. I think that's a powerful thing, you know, but that is what happens when you just go and do things. Things they just manifest, man. And so to finish up the story, I go home and almost a year passes by where it's just kind of very seldom speaking. It's like, I'll send him beats. I'll congratulate him on a song or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden in January, I get this text from him at 3:00 in the morning. I'm like half asleep, like fucking, you know, nasty as hell, watching Netflix or whatever. And I'm like, why is he texting me? And he's like, yo, my boy wants to work with you. Would you be down? I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, like of course. He's like, okay, cool. Can you do this weekend? I was like, yeah, for sure. Where is he at on the East Coast? And he's like, he's not on the East Coast. And I was like, oh, bet. He's like, I was like, well, I'm not on the West Coast. And he's like, oh, I definitely thought you lived in LA. And I was like, nah, I'm on the East Coast. And then at that point, I went like full attack mode because I knew right then that he was like, okay, never mind. And I just wasn't going to have it. So I was like, before he even texted me back, I was like, dude, I will get a flight and be there tomorrow. I swear to God. And he was like, okay, cool. Like, you sure? I was like, yes, I'm sure. Like, obviously I'm sure. And so we're talking, and then another challenge comes up, and he was like, I don't know any studios out here, man. I was like, I know studios out there. And so I just like gave him this massive list of all these studios. And there was one that's like $300 and something for 12 hours. It was a huge deal. And we came to the agreement that he would pay for one, and then I would pay for half for the second session that we did. So sure enough, I get up the next morning, I buy my ticket, and I'm gone that night. And I get to LA, and I link up with them. I stay at their house. I meet his artist Sham, and we have a song coming out because of this trip. And it was just incredible, man. Like, I got to meet this dude who is managed, or who is under SB Projects, like, who has worked with massive people, who has songs out with Dylan Francis right now. Like, you know, and I'm not saying this to flex. I'm saying this because like the spontaneity and the effect of just going to do things is huge. They're like, you will reap the benefits if you just get yourself out of your own head, get yourself out of your own comfort zone and push. And if you fail and have a week where you don't do shit for 3 straight days and you don't know why you're there, it's okay, because like eventually something will happen. You know what I'm saying? So that was a shit ton of talking, but those are my LA stories.
No, those are all awesome. So what was kind of the breaking point then? Because like I said, I mean, Wantel talked about this. You're talking about this now. I mean, I feel like me and Luke have started talking about this and trying to figure out, you know, when was the time and how did you get yourself to that point of where like, okay, I'm going this time and this is what I'm going to do.
Right. So, I believe in God, and I definitely believe in like praying and things like that. So that was one aspect for me. I definitely prayed a lot about it. And to anyone who doesn't believe in God, that's totally cool. You know, maybe for that person, it's just about the shift in energy or whatever, like whatever your thing is. As long as internally you feel right about what you're doing, that's a huge sign for me. And so
Mhm.
for me, when I pray to, when I'm praying, I'm really, really, really strict on like, okay, like how am I feeling inside and what am I hearing? And there were plenty of times where it's like, no, don't go, don't go, don't go. So I didn't. And luckily I didn't, because almost every time that I did that, 2 weeks later, the money that I was going to spend on that ticket was needed for something else. So a lot of it was, do I have the funds to go and to sustain myself there and to come back and still be okay? And did I feel internally that I was supposed to go? And those are the times that I went. And I have like 5 different stories to prove that it works.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's usually how that happened.
Do you have to talk yourself down at all? Or, I mean, maybe you're not like an over planner, or it's easy for you to get out of your head about it. Is it just like at that point, if it feels right, you're like, you know what? I'm not going to overthink it. I'll buy the ticket.
No. I'll like get the green light, and then I'll take another like 3 days to.
Okay.
Oh, well, are you sure I heard that right? Or like, am I sure this is supposed to happen? Because like I'll stare at the screen. It's like $700 for round trip. And I'm like, Jesus, like that's so much money, But yes, like I will eventually. I'll just like look at myself in the mirror and be like, just fucking do it, dude. And then I'll buy the ticket.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
for
awesome.
sure.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I don't know, like, because I'm probably in the shoes that you and maybe Wantel were at one point, where it's like, I know I'm hearing more people talk about like traveling, making these connections and stuff, but it's like there's still something. I think it's just like a comfortable thing where I'm like, here I'm making beats, I know if I've got $500, I could put that towards like a nice set of monitors or something like that. Like, it's really hard for me to pull the trigger and just be like, this is the next move. Was there like a point in your head? Did you have to kind of come to some kind of realization, or maybe you have like some sort of advice to yourself from back then before you started traveling that you think would have been helpful to kind of get out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, let me just say, you guys are really great at asking questions. Like, these are really good questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so, you kind of, and if I don't answer this right, just cut me off and let me know. But there comes a point where you have to decide what's more important in your career. And to me, I've split it up into 2 things. You have networking and you have production. And if you can get to a place in your career where you start to understand that networking is more important than beat making, as much as it hurts my heart to say, things start changing. The money that these monitors. Okay, this is not what I thought. These monitors I've had since I like first started, for real. Like I've had them forever. And I have not upgraded them. It's just all I've had, like, because there came a point in my mind where I almost did buy new monitors 100 different times, but it was just I read something or I talked to somebody and I just put it together that like I need to be in places where important people are. And at that point I decided my priority is to go talk to people and to go network with people, and beat making will come second, or improving my gear will come second. And it has paid off, dude. So 2019 is kind of was like my tour of LA. Like literally all summer I probably went like 6 different times. I made almost no beats that entire month, but I had a catalog. And that proved to me that networking is more important, because I barely made beats. And when I did, it was like I was traveling and I was at a coffee shop and I made a dope beat and whatever. But it proved to me that networking was more important. And when I found that out the first and second time is when I realized I need to start investing money in moving to these places when I can. And eventually I'll be able to upgrade, and eventually I'll be able to do those things, but that's what I need to be doing. So.
No, that does answer the question. And like a lot of things, it's very much like in your head. Like the
100%.
beats, it's not like, I don't know, you're talking about the networking being more important than the music almost, in a sense anyways, is like really hits me because right now I'm like, got to make sure the music's good, got to keep working on the music. Obviously, I love working on the music, but if I'm like serious about taking this to the next level, if I'm serious about like spending full time doing this, I got to get over that in my head of like, if I make good music, I'll start getting these placements or whatever. Like,
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you this, dude. How many beats do you have?
how many beats do I have? Probably like 100, 150, something like that.
Okay. And how many of those, and be real with me, how many of those beats have you exclusively sold?
0.
Okay.
I've got some exclusive giveaways.
Right.
100%.
And people will run to that shit. But okay, like there you go. There's your answer, right? Do something with those beats, man. You know what I'm saying? Go and be in a studio with artists face to face because fuck sending beats to people. It's so awful. It's the dude that I made Sham, we made Jumping in the Rain, was in studio. That beat would have never been made. I would have never made that by myself. And I've sent him so many beats since I've been here, since I've been back in Maryland. 2 of them struck his interest. And like, I'm not a bad beat maker, like, you know, but like it gets to you. You're like, what the fuck? Like, they're good, I swear, you know, but there's a difference between being in person with someone and being able to make eye-to-eye contact and connect and laugh and brainstorm and create in a studio session or at a house or whatever, than just sending beats. You know, you have 150 beats, man. Like, if you were to go to someone's house or meet someone and have the opportunity to show them, whether that's in LA or Atlanta, you would find that your beats would strike more interest with those people in a week, more in a week than you have yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
So like, maybe stop making beats, man,
Right.
and go travel for a little bit and take what you have and do something with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I need to hear that for sure.
I'm telling you. Give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, give me 1 second. My roommate's knocking on my door.
No, you're good.
We're not cutting anything out. This needs to be in there.
Okay.
I'm down.
All right. So
yeah, man.
You were talking about engineering and how once you started that, it was, you know, a whole different beast, but it was also kind of along the same vein. And then in the story you were just talking about, you were saying that it sounded like because of your engineering, you were able to kind of, you know, make it work with Baby Jake and his artist when you flew over there to work with him in LA. Is engineering something that you recommend that everybody who is a producer try to learn? And like, when do you think that they should start that process of learning that?
If they haven't started, they need to start. And if they're just getting into producing, they need to be getting into mixing as well at the same exact time. They go hand in hand. They speak the same language, and your beats will be better for it.
Okay.
100%. Yeah. I've had so many producers reach out to me and ask like, oh, how do you get your kick hitting so hard and all this, but it doesn't sound distorted, or, you know, how do you get things to sound the way they sound? And it really is all mixing technique. You know, like, so for my kick, some secret sauce here. Do you guys know parallel compression? So I just put a CLA 76 in a bus and I send my kick to it. And then I put the attack and the release as fast as possible. And I let it compress really, really hard. And it fucking breaks my speakers, you know? But like, you can get it to a point where it's not clipping, but your kick is smacking, you know? And then you can adjust that way. So, you know, these mixing techniques are super, super important, almost as important, if not just as your beats are.
Yeah. Oh man, I had a question a second ago, and it was related to engineering. Oh, so you started in your kind of smaller city. Was it just recording friends or people you knew from high school, like initially to kind of get your practice up?
Yes. So I had a band. We were called what were we called? We were called the OX, but it was the world's hardest name ever. It was a Nordic O, which no one knows what the fuck that is unless they see it. It's the O with the slash in it.
Okay.
And then it was .x . And so like no one could find out who we were.
Right.
But so that was my band, and those are my two best friends that like I've done everything with. And they were super talented and really motivated me to get into, you know, producing and all that. But yeah, so we started with our own music, and that really helped. And then, like I said, I had my first session and things like that. So to anyone who is starting out in engineering, find some friends to mess around with and have them record on a track and do it for free. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. And what was it like when you were recording like the local people and stuff from your area? Because I think, and I don't know if this holds true across all kind of smaller cities. I guess that's something me and Luke are trying to figure out. But because it just seems like the level of work is just, there's kind of a disparity between how much time people are putting into their music when they're from a smaller city as opposed to when you go to LA or Atlanta or whatever, and you're seeing just the, you know, insane level of output that people are doing.
Right. And what's the question?
Just like, did you notice that too from where you were? And is that why you kind of started to try to do more word of mouth to get people from outside even to come into your studio?
Yeah, the word of mouth was really good for the local scene.
Okay.
And to be honest, and that's kind of what the studio remained as, was a really awesome, or remains as, not really. Quarantine's fucking like, I've been there twice since all this has happened. But yeah, it was really good for the local scene, doing the word of mouth and things like that. Yeah.
So it seems like then the local scene, I mean, it's kind of built on initially the local scene, right? Working with locals in your area is kind of how it all started. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the coolest pieces of advice that I got was you need to lock down your area code. Lock down your area code. And once you have that, go move to another area code and lock them down, and so on and so forth. And before you know it, you're going to have the whole tri-state area knowing who your name is. You know, and so that's essentially kind of what I did, was like, you know, my area code is so many artists in here. And so word of mouth was like, okay, get this out to people and let people know what's going on. And it worked, you know, that was it. And then people from Virginia started to know who I was, and you know, DC and things like that, you know, and then like social media is a great place for that as well. That really, really helped get outside of the area, because word of mouth works up into a certain point, you know, and then you need to go to external sources like social media and things like that. And so I did that. And then, so then, you know, Virginia and DC started to know who I was, and I got business from that. So.
Awesome. And another thing that I noticed is it says in your bio that you do have a manager. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, when do you think that people will realize that maybe they need one, and what are kind of the steps you can take for that?
Right. It's hard, man, because a placement can come out of nowhere. And you can certainly do it yourself, but there is a high chance that you're going to fuck yourself over if you don't have a manager, because your first placement, unless you've really done your research and you're super proactive about it, you have no clue what they're saying, and they'll throw numbers at you quick and be like, okay, get back to me, let me know. And then you're screwed, because it's like, well, he, you know, said 10% and 5, and that's more than I've ever had. And it's like, okay, but it's like $5, you know, like,
yeah,
but it's like, oh, I got my first placement, like, that's awesome, and your name's going to be on there, but it, like, you're worth more than that, you know. So for me, so my manager is actually one of my best friends, and I highly recommend that to anyone if they have the opportunity to do it.
Mm.
It's cool to like dream of having an all-star manager who works for a label and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said when your manager is someone that knows you, like the back of their hand, and you know them in the same way. Because when that happens, chemistry is so much easier, and conversations are so much easier, and business is so much easier between you two because you just know how the other one acts, So, for example, I fucking hate dealing with numbers and prices with clients. I hate it. I'll be like, well, you okay? Well, you can have it for free. And it's like, no, you can't have it for free. Like, because I need to make money. And so like I was stern on my contracts and everything, and I made sure I did it, but I hated it. And so like there were a lot of times where I was like under the table. I was like, all right, well, I'll take $20 off for no reason. I just did it. So that's my weakness. My manager knows that's my weakness. And so, his job, one of his strengths is he's an asshole. That's a strength. And he's stubborn. And so when he's on the phone, it's like, it's business before friends, like 2 days ago, he was on the phone with a A&R guy from Darkroom Records. And the dude knows what he's talking about. You know what I mean? He's in LA. He knows the numbers and he knows what he's doing. And so he came with an offer that was not the best offer, but my friend knows strategy and he knows business and he knows how to work it. And I was like, the dude asked for me to be on the phone, and it's all tactic. And it's not a bad thing. It's just, it is what it is, and I enjoyed being on the phone, but I quickly was like sweating and fucking like, not it was like that one episode from SpongeBob where it's like, I need to, and it's like, I just had no clue what they were saying. And so like, I was like, so I threw the phone over to my manager. I was like, I'm going downstairs, fucking come down when it's all done, please. And I like was going downstairs and I was like pacing and sweating. I was like, dude, why? But it don't need to worry about it anymore because he's doing it. And so he came downstairs and was like, laid down the numbers, and he sure enough came back with a better offer and was like, we're good to go. Paperwork's going to be sent soon. And I was like, you rock, dude.
That's awesome.
But that is a benefit of having someone who's your best friend be your manager. And so for me, to answer your question, I had not gotten any major placements yet. Then the Nick Caution thing was being talked about, but wasn't set in stone. And so in my head, I was like, I know, because I'm projecting 5 years in the future, 3 years in the future. I'm projecting, okay, I fully intend, and really by the end of 2020, I fully intend on having some serious placements coming to my door. Like I need to be ready for it. So it was really a guessing game, looking at where I was and where I think I'm going and projecting all that, and then coming to the conclusion that I need a manager. And so it was at that point where I went through my phone list and I saw his name. And I was like, oh, of course. And so I asked him, and he said no. And I was like, huh? And literally for 3 months, seriously, literally for like 3 months, it was just an ongoing battle of him not wanting to do it. But I was like, no, fuck you. Like, you're going to be my manager. And then finally, dude, I don't know, finally one, like, and I promise you, it was every single day I texted him in any type of conversation we had that had nothing to do with him managing me. I would somehow slip in that he should be my manager. I was like, what would have, like, blah, blah, like, it was, always sarcastic shit. And so sure enough, like, the day came and he was like, yo, let's go get some lunch or something. I want to talk. And we sat down. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. Like, I want to do this. But if I'm going to do it, here are the prereqs. And the thing is that he works a 9 to 5, but he works a full-time, it's a career job. He's got benefits, he's committed, he's everything, and so it's a huge risk to be like, yes, I'll do this. Because I told him, I was like, I want you to do this. That's why I've asked you every day for the past 3 months. But if you're going to do it and this takes off, I need to know that you're going to be ready to up and leave and do this with me. These types of situations would not happen if I was dreaming of having an all-star manager. You know what I mean? So because he's my best friend and because we were able to speak on these things, it's very, cut and clear. And he said, yeah, okay, like I'm ready. Let's fucking do this. And it has been great ever since. He and the funny thing is he had no clue how to manage a producer and artist at all. So the first day he said yes, I sent him 3 books. I sent him a podcast to listen to. I sent him the A&R from Darkroom Records. I was like, you need to call him and ask questions. And I sent him another A&R that I was friends with from Interscope or something like that. And I said, you need to call him too and ask questions. And I was like, there's your homework. Go do it.
That's awesome. Do you recall the books and the podcast by chance? I might have to hit you up later for those if you don't know off the top of your head.
Not off the top, but
okay.
I will gladly send them to you.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
That would be awesome.
For sure. So yeah, man, it was to conclude your question. Do it when you see, like, as a producer and as an artist, project your future in 2 years. Understand where you think you're going to be. And if you find yourself, and be real about it. You can't fucking lie to yourself. You have to know what your reality is. If you have 0 placements, if you've never talked to, or never been in a camp where it involves labels, you're probably good for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Get yourself there first. Mm. If you have been, and you're starting to see relationships being built and conversations being had between you and these artists and these labels, it's time to make a move, and it's time to get to get a manager. And you can find a manager in your phone list who has no fucking clue how to manage, and ask them to do it. But yeah. So
okay. And did you mention before a little bit about the whole Red Roses thing? Did that kind of inspire you too to be like, oh well, maybe I need somebody kind of watching my back a little more?
So we have 2 minutes 26, just so you know. But I can answer in that, I promise. I did not have a manager at that time. I just hired him to be my manager this year. So that was all me, having no clue what to do, signing no contracts, knowing that he was going to, blow up. And so we did it. The thing is this, man, we were on the phone, me and Skies, we were on the phone every day, talking about, the future and how it's going to be. And a week later he gets signed, never hear from him again. And that was it, So I have the masters to prove that I did it. I don't have the official credit, but I have the masters to prove, like, this is my song and I mixed it. But it was a learning lesson. And so from there on out, I did contracts, and yeah.
Wow.
Luke, did you have any question you want to ask about that last one?
I mean, the first thing that kind of comes to my mind is you hear a lot of people talking about working together with an artist, right? Coming up together with an artist. That's a hard story a little bit to hear because of that. I mean, have you had experiences working with other artists too, and would recommend still, like, early on? Because I mean, part of me wonders, like, does a contract save that, or maybe it's just going to be kind of an artist to artist thing, and you win some, you lose some. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Rephrase that one more time.
Okay, so do you think it's still good to try and work with the up and coming artists, I guess, that you believe in, and hope that you can kind of work alongside them in the future?
This is a touchy question, because I know the people that I work with are probably going to listen to this. So I get why you said that. You might want to take some things out of the podcast.
I'm not trying to, like, get you to say anything you don't feel comfortable saying. And I know that there's situations, and different people have, I don't know, they have different motives, or maybe they have kind of different goals and paths, go different directions. And sometimes stuff doesn't work out, sometimes it does. And it's also hard to kind of split, like, wanting to see someone else be successful, but knowing that doesn't align with maybe your own path. that kind of thing. I don't know if you have any thoughts you want to share on it.
I have a ton of thoughts, like I've had with every question. Dude, no, it's a great question, and I think it's something that people need to hear 100%, because to be quite honest, I think that people in my position can potentially be in danger to get stuck, because they're so focused on going up with their local scene. And as real as it is, and as it's very possible, I know I have friends in North Carolina that are incredible producers, and their team they're legitimately going up. I mean, one of their friends are about to get signed. You know what I'm saying? And it's like they started from nothing. They've been friends, and it's just happening. However, there are a lot of instances where that doesn't necessarily happen as smoothly as people envision it to be. And as much as I am uncomfortable talking about it, I really think it needs to be talked about, and I'm okay with taking flack and all that, and I'll speak to the people that I work with when it happens. And this isn't their fault, really, in any way, unless it's a lack of work and things like that. But there are just some times when you spend 2 years, 3 years, 4 years of your life working with local artists and nothing happens. And people have a really hard time breaking off that and saying, okay, like I gotta do something else. Like I can't continue to keep doing this because it's not going anywhere. I'm very close friends with some of the people that come to mind, and they work their asses off. And unfortunately, there are just some scenarios where it doesn't quite hit. And that doesn't mean that it will never hit. It just doesn't quite hit in the time frame that you're trying to work. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So my path is completely different from their path. And where I might have opportunities happening for me right now, they might not at that current moment, which is totally fine, because it will happen for them later if they continue to work and be consistent. But it's just not happening in my area or in my time. And so the choice comes down to how do you manage that? And for me, I made a decision to definitely to work with them still, but to keep focusing on myself and doing everything I can for myself. However, this is with the intention, and I know they would do the same for me, this is with the intention that if I make it, I will do everything in my power to make sure that those that I work with, that I believe in, will also make it. You know what I'm saying? Because and again, this isn't a lack of talent. This isn't a lack of hard work or discipline. And if it is, that's their own thing that they can worry about. But as far as I'm concerned, that's not what it is. They have every opportunity, just as much as I do, to make it and have those doors open for them. You know what I'm saying? So right now, I just am in a position where if I can keep pushing this, like I'll be able to turn around and pull my team up with me. You know what I'm saying? Or at least give them opportunities to push themselves up, and then we can all, eat. But yeah, man, like you have to be very careful with it, because if you start to see yourself as a producer engineer move forward, but your team not necessarily moving forward, a decision needs to be made. Where do you put your focus in more? Do you start doing LA trips? Do you start focusing on outside people? Do you start going to LA and trying to reach for those bigger names, things like that? Or do you hang on and keep focusing and keep pushing with your local team? So did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. And
shit's got me sweaty, dude. That's it because like I don't want to say anything that's like that puts them down, because again, they are, and I'm saying this to them if they watch this, like they're talented. Yeah. They are so talented. Right. But opportunities come and some don't, and so
yeah. Well, and like you said, I think it's probably two journeys to the same or maybe a similar destination, but one might take longer, or you might eventually still have to work with other artists to get where you had intended. And even if it is then bringing that original artists or the group or whatever it is up than using the new resources, new connections and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
I think, but yeah, that's got to be tough though. Like, I don't know, it's tough, and just working here locally sometimes, and versus over the internet, you know. So
Here's the thing though, when you work over the internet, your goal should not stop at, cool, I got their email or I got their number and now I can send them beats. It shouldn't stop there. Your end goal should be, I want to connect. I want to meet.
Yeah.
The amount of people, and this is what's so incredible about Twitter, the amount of people that I've met over Twitter has been insane. And it has led to a lot of opportunity. And it's Twitter. Like, I don't know, they could kill me for all I know.
That's not Craigslist.
No, but it's damn close. You know, sometimes, you know, you just don't know, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, you know, your end goal should be that. And dude, I mean, look, I will say this, and this, I want this to be on record. The people that I work with, the local artists that I work with, have given me a lot of opportunity. I've met some incredible people who are doing great things because of the people that I work with, you know? So where I'm at right now would have not happened had I not met them or followed them or had faith in them. So keep that in mind too. You know, there's a balance in everything that you do, but at the end of the day, you have to do what is best for you no matter what.
Right. Yeah.
And in my mind, focusing on opportunities that I can attain, I'm going to do that because I'm trying to get there.
Right. Yeah. And it's hard because it's usually to say nothing of the artist. Like, you still obviously want, for me speaking for myself anyways, I want these artists to be successful, but I can't put like all my eggs in one basket and wait for something to happen. I'm glad you talked about it though, because it is tough to approach because it's real people with real dreams, just like me and just like you. So
yeah, and that's a fragile thing to mess with, you know. But what you said is exactly right. You can't sit and wait, because at the end of the day, time moves without you, whether you're going with it or not. You know, and so sitting still, like, there's a difference between being invested and moving and being complacent. And you don't want to reach complacency.
Yeah.
You know, especially in this career, man, it's way too aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I guess winding down here, because we have kept you for a very long time.
I talk so much, dude. I apologize.
No, it's awesome. This is going to be an awesome podcast for sure. But
okay, cool.
Just wanted to mention that you just dropped your first song.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you what that whole process was like. You know, why did you decide that? Because I always find it fascinating when producers make that, you know, transition over to being an artist too. So how did that go for you?
It was humbling. It was humbling. I can't sing for shit at all. So you hear me like belt on this song, and that is the work of 200 different takes. Not exaggerating.
Wow.
And a lot of, again, fucking learn mixing and a lot of mixing technique. You know, I'm not tone deaf, but man, I got to get creative. The process was good, man. It was really just a mix of, like, I was in quarantine and I'm bored as hell, and I've always loved the idea of making music for myself, and I tend to get tired of like having to make beats that fit other people. And so I just thought to myself, you know, why not just make whatever, like, it's kind of like a hobby right now, and I do want to take it seriously. But right now I still am learning my sound and stuff. And so it just allowed me to make whatever I wanted to make, regardless of what it was, and be confident that no one was going to sit there and be like, you shouldn't do that, you know, because I'm making it. And so it was really freeing to be able to do that and then post it and see the reaction to it. Now, granted, I'm not even past 1,000 streams, but it's been awesome to see me go from 0 monthly listeners up to 200 monthly listeners within like a month and a half. Like, it was very, it's super, it's fuel again. You know, it's like, okay, cool. Like I see that people are enjoying what I'm doing. So.
Yeah. And does it kind of get you a little more motivated to start releasing your own music more? I guess I'm kind of, just want to know about the balance, because like that must be pretty cool to watch your streams be going up and everything, and then also be knowing, oh, I get to keep 100% of this because this is all mine. Is that really motivating? Super
motivating, man. Because like that's mine. Like,
yeah,
I don't got to worry about, Joe from I was about to say intercourse. We need to fucking end the podcast. Joe from Interscope, and, whatever, like taking a cut.
Yeah.
Because if you can, if you can, and if you want to, you can be a triple threat and make all of the money. So, I did a deal with myself and I negotiated, and I was like, no, that's not good enough. So, but we finally settled, the artist Tyler and producer Tyler.
Nice.
But yeah, man. So like, it's very motivating because you see a lot of good engagement, and you can be confident in knowing that what you're doing, you get 100% of that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Have you had artists reach out to you too now and inquire about having you on a song, not just production, but just like to be on their song?
I've had conversations about it, but not any serious inquiries yet.
Okay.
However, I'm confident in my next song, it'll happen.
Are you working like on a project?
I'm working on a new single right now. I'm like this close to throwing it away. But we will see. So.
Okay.
Looking forward to it. Hopefully you don't throw it away, because I'm really curious.
Yeah, I probably won't. There's a lot of work in it. It's good. It's very Owl City vibes, which is
okay.
Super funny because it's not the plan. That wasn't the plan. But yeah, it's cool, man. I like it. It's just a headache, and you get into this mindset where it's like one day you love what you're doing and you think you're great, and then the next day you're considering throwing your whole computer out the window because So yeah. But that'll hopefully come out soon. I'm trying to get that out ASAP, obviously, after all this shit blows by.
Awesome.
Awesome. That's super cool. Well, okay. I guess we'll wrap this up then. Just want to thank you so much for coming on here and sharing so much knowledge with us. I mean, there's a ton of stuff in here that people are going to be able to take, that we'll be able to take for sure and
awesome.
Learn from. If you got anything coming up that you want to let people know about, or where to find you, let them know.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll give my socials. At Tyler Genius, that's my Twitter. At It's Tyler Genius is my Instagram, because some asshole took at Tyler Genius, who hasn't posted in 12 years. And then yeah, man, my new song is in the works. It's coming out hopefully soon. So that's pretty much all I got.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for coming on here and talking with us.
Man. Yeah,
this has been awesome.
I really appreciate it. You guys are A1 at what you're doing here. So.
Oh, thank you. We're getting better, but appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's good.
So thanks so much.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. You guys have a good day.
You too. Bye.
See ya.